Hello there everybody, it is me XFreezerBunny and welcome back to another Sims 4 speed building video. Today we're speed building the Waddesdon Manor, the iconic home of one of the world's most prominent and richest families, the Rothschilds. Okay, so this is the first part in a 3-part speed build. Much like my previous speed build, this will be divided into many parts. Unlike my previous speed builds, however, this is a lot longer. So there's going to be a total of 4 videos in this series of speed builds. 3 of those will be speed builds itself, and then an extra 4th video, which is going to be the house tour for this home, okay? This home took me about a week to finish, but I have been working non-stop on this whole week. Like literally I'm spending what little I have of my summer vacation for this one. But I had a lot of fun. I had a sudden burst of inspiration to do this and I just went all out and I couldn't even stop myself from doing this, okay? So in this first part, we're going to be speed building mostly the exterior and a little bit of the interior. The second speed build, we are going to be mostly doing the interior, and then the third one is going to be the interior and the landscaping as well, okay? Just to give you guys a little bit of an idea as to how much time it took me to spend on this build, it took me a total of 10 hours to build this. You know, so all of that footage I had to compress into 3 videos for you guys. I didn't edit anything, so all of the footage I am going to share with you guys. So that is 10 hours of footage for you guys. That's why it took me 3 videos to make this speed build, because it just took me a really, really long time. 10 hours is no joke, you guys. It is not, you know, to give you guys a little bit of an idea as to how much time that is. Usually it takes me about 2 to 3 hours to make an entire speed build, you know, 2 to 3 hours for an entire speed build. If it's a little bit more ambitious, it'd probably take me 4 hours, nothing more than that, okay? But this speed build took me 10 hours. That is an insane amount of time. So I had to make the difficult decision in the end to divide this into 3 parts, because I really, really wanted to have a 2-part video, but that was just not gonna happen. So I think the best way to showcase my work is through this 3-part video. I think that's, you know, a good speed for you guys who want to learn something, and at the same time I think you can just go ahead and come back if you don't have time to watch the entire thing. Just go ahead and watch it tomorrow or on another day. I know that a lot of people are pretty busy. I'm recording this on August 6th actually, which is the day of the Olympics. Yes, August 6th. It might be August 5th to some of you guys in other parts of the world, but in my country, the Olympics happened in the morning of the 6th, and I was tweeting about it on my Twitter and stuff like that, just to give you guys a little bit of an idea as to what I've been doing while working on this build. Okay, pretty much the most elaborate part of Waddesdon is the roof. The home is built in the late 1800s, and it is built in the eclectic style, specifically French Renaissance Revival. That's a really popular movement in the 1800s, building homes in the Revival style. Revival is a very general term, actually, that refers to pretty much taking an older style of architecture and interpreting it into a more recent building type, such as a home, for example. So revival style, there's a lot of them, you know, like pretty much anything that came before the 1800s is like can be revived pretty much. So there's Renaissance revival, Gothic revival, you know, classical, neoclassical, and things like that. I don't want to make this too much of an educational video for you guys. I do want to share a little bit of what my knowledge, because I'm not sure if you guys know this, but I am an aspiring architect. And my favorite course is History of Architecture. I had to take 4 courses on that, and I have to say that I did pass them in flying colors. Not to brag, but I think that's probably my best class that I've ever taken in architecture, History of Architecture, so it's really fun. Which also probably explains why I choose to do these types of builds, because I just love history of architecture. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and share to you guys a little bit of what I know about the Waddesdon Manor, okay? So Waddesdon was built by a man called Baron Ferdinand de Rothschild. Really, really difficult name to pronounce. Unfortunately, Baron Ferdinand didn't have the happiest family life, because unfortunately he lost his wife and child during childbirth together. And then, you know, he built Waddesdon after that, and I feel like I couldn't help to think but thinking of him putting all of his focus on this home that he built for himself, because, you know, his wife and child passed away and he never remarried, you know, until the end of his life. He remained faithful to his one wife, which I admire him for that. It takes a lot, you know, to be faithful to one person, especially if you're like alone for the rest of your life. Granted that he was immensely wealthy and he probably put a lot of time into this home to compensate for his loss in his family life. That's my interpretation of it, you know. So in case you guys do not know who the Rothschilds are, the Rothschilds are a very, very wealthy European family. They got their wealth specifically from banking, and they can be found all over Europe. I heard, you know, I watched a video about the history of the family, and it said that they established banks in the major financial capitals of Europe, specifically Frankfurt, Vienna, Naples, London, and Paris. So these guys can be found all over Europe. They're not necessarily one specific nationality, though I believe that Rothschilds are of German origin. I'm not sure. So yeah, it's a really, really interesting story actually, and it makes me feel a little bit melancholy thinking about Ferdinand de Rothschild's story, especially with his family life. So, you know, I actually was able to choose the music for this video already while I was rendering and processing it, and I chose a very kind of melancholy. I think that's the best music. That's the best word to describe it. It's a very melancholy song to go with it. It's a classical piece called you know what? One second. I'm gonna check it out really quick and see what it is. It's just right next to me. Okay. It's a song called Love of All by Twin Musicom. Okay, awesome. If you guys are interested in the music, I will put links in the description below. It's a really, really beautiful piece in my opinion, and I feel like it fits perfectly well with the atmosphere and the emotions that I wanted to convey in this build. Because at the end of the day, Waddesdon is a stunningly beautiful home, you know. You can never run out of things to describe how beautiful it is, but at the end of the day, it is a story of a tragic life of the owner, you know. I think it's a reflection of his failed marriage life and his kind of aspirations, I guess, to create a fulfilling life. And I think Waddesdon is a result of it. Nevertheless, he created something absolutely gorgeous. Like, it's one of the most beautiful homes that I've ever seen. And I think that will be the legacy of Baron Ferdinand de Rothschild. So that's a nice little story that I wanted to share for you guys. So yeah, it took me 4 hours to do the exterior. No, it took me about 2 hours to do the exterior. Like I said, 2 hours is enough time to make a small speed build, but for this video, it's just the exterior. And you guys can see me really, really put a lot of effort into it. I did not want to half-ass this, if I'm allowed to say that. I really didn't want to half-ass this because I personally really like the Waddesdon Manor. It's one of my favorite homes, and if I had a chance to own a home like this, I would. In a heartbeat, I would. But I really wanted to take my time to make this absolutely perfect, and I know that it's also close to many people's hearts as well. I've seen this home recreated in The Sims many times already. However, I haven't seen anybody recreate it in The Sims 4. But to be fair, I haven't checked the gallery exactly, so I don't know. I'm not sure. But yeah, I wanted to make a faithful interpretation of it. But at the same time, I did allow myself a lot of artistic license for this because at the end of the day, we only have so much limitations to have in The Sims 4. We can only do so much. And, you know, I think I was able to make the best of what we can do with the game without the use of custom content to really bring out the game's potential because, you know, they did put a lot of effort in the systems in the game, and it was awesome. You know, I don't think I could have created something like this in any other Sims game, and this looks very, very, very similar to the actual home itself. I feel like I don't want to toot my own horn or anything, but I honestly feel like I did do it justice. It's not just a replica. It kind of, for me, it's like an interpretation, and you know, it captures the spirit of the builds, which is really important for me as an architect. I think I was able to capture the essence of this home, and I was able to deliver on such an ambitious project that I wanted. If you guys see me pausing like this, I'm probably looking at some reference images because every time I do builds that require reference images, I have my laptop right next to me. And also I probably just went out for water because usually I am a water person. I never drink any, you know, I never drink any sodas or anything. I drink water all the time. If it's not water, it's probably milk tea or coffee, but not coffee too much. I haven't drank any coffee lately. Anyway, so right here, you guys can see me finally place in the windows. Now, I really wanted to incorporate some arched windows on the ground floor because that's how it looks in the actual Waddesdon Manor itself. But I could not find the right arched windows that matched the kind of yellowish stone that we use for the exterior. So in the end, I just settled for some triangular ones, which I felt like were an okay replacement. Okay. And right now we are placing in the spires of the turrets, I guess, or the towers. And I can definitely say that these items that came with Get Together really bring out the best in these types of builds. And like castle builds, I think you really need to have Get Together in order to pull it off. And I'm really happy that we have those items, and I'm really happy that we can enlarge them as well because I think they really do contribute a lot to any home if you want to make it look like a palace and stuff. So right here, I'm using some more Get Together stuff to make some dormer windows, actually. I guess I might as well tell you guys that this home is fully furnished on 2 floors, the ground floor and the second floor. I could probably have furnished the topmost levels, but I just decided not to because that would just be crazy for me. Like, that would drive me insane. Like, that, just no. Plus, it would be in the roof anyway, so I didn't feel like it was necessary to do it. But yeah, like, you guys can see that it's really coming together. You know, all the details on the roof is really bringing out the inner chateau in this Renaissance Revival style building. So yeah, a lot of let's see here. A lot of the Victorian architecture is really about breaking that roof line. Before the Victorians came, it was popular to have flat roofs in architecture. You know, we have, you know, structures like Buckingham Palace, which was built during the Regency era. We also have like Versailles Palace, for example. And these palaces are Italianate. And in Italianate inspired buildings, they usually favor flat roofs because that is what's popular in Italy. You know, that's the Italian style, flat roofs. But, you know, the Victorians did something a little bit different because they favored breaking that flat roof line and making things a little bit more dynamic when it comes to the roof and a little bit more elaborate as well. So the Victorians added turrets and spires and pinnacles and all these crazy things on the roof. So you guys can see many Victorian homes have like domes and dormers and towers. Like each Victorian home, if you guys do some research, like the really popular ones, it's very common to have at least one tower or sometimes even multiple ones in a Victorian home, which is a big contrast from previous styles like in Georgian architecture, for example, which mostly favored flat roofs. So that's a really interesting, nice trivia for you guys. Right now, the back of this reminds me a lot of the back of Buckingham Palace, probably because of the color. But yeah, it did turn out really, really well in the end. I did do a lot of research in this, like literally just to make it appropriate and just to bring out the best in this build, because I wanted this to be like one of my ultimate builds. I really went all out and just, had a sudden burst of inspiration, and I'm just like, okay, you know what, I'm gonna go for it. It's probably gonna be a huge challenge, but it is something that's within my comfort zone though, because you guys know me for doing these elaborate classical builds. But I don't think I've ever done something so elaborate in a speed build. I've done many palaces and stately homes as real-time builds, but in terms of a palace for a speed build, that's like, I feel like this is probably the first time that I'm doing it. Alright, so we are adding in a bunch of little details here to kind of, once again, just convey how this structure looks like, how it does in real life, because I did want it to be somewhat, somewhat accurate, but not really, because at the end of the day, this is my interpretation. And I always say this in my builds, but you could never replicate something 100% in The Sims, because, it's a game. So, I did do my best. And to one particular detail that I don't think a lot of people realize, and I also only noticed while watching some reference images and stuff, are these chimneys. I feel like the chimneys really bring out like the classicalness of it, if that makes any sense. And they're placed in very unusual places though. So yeah, I did get a little bit creative here with the chimneys, because sometimes there's some Victorian homes out there that just have crazy chimneys like all over the place, and I feel like this is one of them. So yeah, tons of chimneys. I'm not sure if these work actually. That's a big difference between The Sims 4 and previous Sims games, is that chimneys are no longer attached to the fireplace, which I actually don't like. I would like the option to have separate chimneys, but I would also like the option to have chimneys that are attached to the fireplace. But that's just not a thing in The Sims 4, unfortunately. I don't know why it isn't, but I wish it was more like how it was in The Sims 3, where you would place a fireplace and a chimney would kind of spawn from it. But anyway, that's not really too important. I guess I might as well share with you guys a little bit more about revival architecture and give you guys a couple of examples just to give you guys a good idea as to how popular the revival style was in the 1800s. Another really, really famous home that was built in the 1800s in the revival style is, of course, Highclere Castle, the setting for the fictional Downton Abbey, one of my favorite TV shows of all time. Is also built in the revival style. You guys can see a lot of similarities to this. Like the material, for example, the material of Waddesdon and Highclere is like almost identical. I don't know what it is, but it's that really yellowish kind of, kind of like omelet color. Yeah, that's literally what I called it. Yeah, it's this yellowish kind of stone, really, really popular during the Victorian era. It's also this type of stone that they used in Buckingham Palace, I think, because the facade of Buckingham Palace is actually not the actual building itself. It's just a facade. The back of it, though, kind of gives you a little bit more of a glimpse of the older building, and the back shows that it's in this color, that it was built in this color scheme. So that's really nice. So yeah, you can kind of tell that Highclere Castle was built during the Victorian era, like Waddesdon, because like I said, they don't like flat roofs. Like Highclere is the epitome of like non-flat roofness. They literally broke the flatness of it by adding towers and spires and pinnacles and all these crazy sculptures and gargoyles and all that stuff. So I'm just trying to prove my point here, and I'm trying to let you guys know that I do know what I'm talking about to some extent. I don't want to seem like I'm, like pretending like I know. But yeah, I really like sharing to you guys information that I love and that I know, because it makes me feel like my YouTube channel has a little bit of a purpose other than to show you guys how to build and how to use these tools in The Sims. I also impart with you guys a little bit of my knowledge as an aspiring architect, and I think there's some value in that for people who are interested, okay? So, I'm running out of things to talk about. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, you guys can really see that the exterior took me a lot of work. Like, we're still barely done with the exterior, and this is crazy. It took me a really, really long time to build the exterior, and I initially came into this build not really expecting it to be that long, but when I realized how long it was taking me to do the exterior, I was just like, holy crap, this is probably going to be my longest build. That's what I told myself, and it came true. This is definitely my longest speed build. I honestly thought that it would be impossible to top my previous one, the Edwardian Beach Hotel, but just this one is insanely crazy. Like, it's crazy. So right now we are just positioning the home into its final location. And by the way, I was able to use those balustrades that came with, I believe, Get Together. I believe those are part of like the ruins set or something. I was able to put them to good use in this build, actually. I like how they are false balconies and stuff, because they do have that in Waddesdon itself as well. Once again, adding in a million different spires and pinnacles and all that stuff to break the roofline. Another thing that I really do appreciate in The Sims 4 is the use of trims. I'm really, really happy that we're able to use them, because the trims really put a lot of dimension to the exterior of each home, especially homes that are built in the classical style. You can really see how they work, and they really do work. I feel like they do add an extra dimension to an otherwise flat facade. And yeah, the trims, or like what are these moldings, they also have a practical feature as well, or they have a practical use, because in Italian architecture, or in the Italianate architecture, as I mentioned to you guys earlier, which was mainly using flat roofs, these trims and moldings, they would actually stop the rain from messing up the walls, because they would, prevent the rain from touching the walls. So it would protect the walls and stuff. So it also has like a protective function to it as well, not just something that's purely cosmetic. So yeah, I don't know what to talk about, so I'm just trying to share with you guys some information about architecture that I am willing to share with you guys. If you guys are interested in anything, feel free to ask me, and I might talk about it in another video or something, because I honestly don't think that a lot of you guys would probably be here still. If you are, let me know. Yeah, that's why it was a really difficult decision for me to divide this into 3 builds, because I just felt like nobody would watch the other 2, because most people only watch the first one, and probably the 4th one, which is the house tour, and then nobody would watch the other 2 videos. But like I said, it's not about it's not about that. It's not about how many people watch the video. For me, it's about how am I going to showcase my work in the best possible way. So it was a difficult decision, but it was the right decision for me. So yeah. It was also really difficult to entertain myself while doing this build, because usually I listen to podcasts and live streams when I'm speed building. I don't necessarily listen to music because I get tired of music really easily when I do that, because I just spend so much time with these builds that I listen to a music album or something, and it just, I'm by the third time that I listen to it, I'm just already really tired of it. So yeah. If you guys are doing builds, what type of music do you listen to? I'm very interested, because I might actually go back to listening to music. Maybe, I'm not really sure. If I had one complaint about the roof in The Sims 4, I wish we can make them a little bit taller. Especially the hip roofs, I really wanted them to be a little bit taller, because they're just falling really short for me. And we're adding in a million different fireplaces as well. I did look at the reference images that I had just to make sure that the fireplaces are all in the correct placement and where they should be. So yeah. And then you guys can see that literally every square inch of this home is embellished and decorated with all these different things. It's just crazy. The Rothschilds are one of the wealthiest families in the world, so obviously it would not be a huge stretch for them to build something as huge as this. And to give you guys a little bit of an idea as to how wealthy they are, they don't have just one big home. They have about 40 great homes. 40! Most people only have a home. Some people don't even have a house. These guys have 40 of these. Crazy. Speaking of 40, this house has 40 rooms. 40 rooms for me to decorate. It has 6 bedrooms and 3 dining rooms. Who needs 3 dining rooms, right? But I copied the original floor plan of Waddesdon, and they had 3 dining rooms. They had a breakfast, a formal dining room, and a blue dining room. Really? How insane is that, right? But you know what? It's fine. I think it's all worth it in the end. It just boggles my mind still how I was able to furnish 40 rooms. Literally, how am I still not insane? I am probably really insane already. So I did break the classicalness of this build by throwing in those gothic windows in the conservatory. I felt like they really, fit in with the style. And I had a really difficult time actually choosing these doors that lead to the outside. I wanted to make it all uniform, so each door, I wanted it to be the same style, the same material, and the same everything. So I ended up choosing some, I believe base game doors that are the same brownish wood color. So yeah. And then I really like this cute little tower area here in the corner. That is going to be a part of the game room. And I think in the corner tower, I'm going to be placing in a small easel. I think that's the only item in this room. I also felt like it was a little bit weird to have this bay window here in the corner, but they do have it. So yeah. I feel like building this really made me understand the architect behind this building, because I can see how he thought about it. If you guys look closely, it's clear that he started from a symmetrical building and just added to it, because the central wing is very, very symmetrical on all sides. But then he added some towers to it on the sides and all that stuff. And then I think that's what made it asymmetrical. And I really, really like discovering that by doing this build, because I am the same. Usually when I design things, I usually start off by doing things asymmetrically. Then I add things to break the symmetry. So I'm just adding here a quick little save. I usually edit that out, but I'm gonna keep it in to show you guys that I do save my game often. I have 12 backup files of this of this home. Every step that I take, I literally like save it on the gallery in my library like many times, just to kind of make sure that I don't regret, not having a backup copy in case I lost it or anything, because if I lost it, I would probably be insane. Also, a little while back, you guys saw me paint in the terrain. That's just a preliminary paint. I will elaborate on that later on, but the base coat, I did decide to paint it now because I made a mistake with my previous builds where I started with the detail and then painted the base coat over it. So I accidentally erased some of some of the detail. So I'm doing things in reverse this time. We are finally working on the interiors. Yay! So for this video, I think we're gonna see like maybe 3 or 4 rooms that we're gonna furnish. Mostly it's going to be the more ceremonial rooms. So it's basically the red drawing room, the blue drawing room, or no, excuse me, is it the blue? No, it's the red drawing room, the gray drawing room, and the dining room. So yeah. These are very, very formal rooms. So furnishing wise, they are very stiff and very rigid in layout. As we go through the more intimate rooms, like the bedrooms and the family spaces, it does get a little bit more less informal, I guess. And there's going to be a lot more clutter. But for these rooms, it's just really stiff and very, very articulated. I'm using some really big words. But yeah, the placement of the furniture is very rigid, I guess, just to kind of convey that formality. This is basically the room where, the Baron would entertain his guests. And speaking of entertaining is one of the main features entertaining is one of the main purposes why he built this home. The other purpose of him building this home is to display his collection of French fine art, specifically French furniture and other artifacts. That's why he chose to build in the French Renaissance style, because he was gonna display French artifacts in it. Makes sense, right? So you guys will see me actually carry that on into the rest of the builds, because I added like a crap ton of display cabinets like all over the place. I think we're gonna add one now. There we go. But yeah, most of the public rooms or the public spaces have at least a display cabinet, because Baron de Rothschild really had a passion for collecting. And not just him, many of his other family members also had a passion for it as well as a couple of people who inherited the home. They also really liked to collect art and stuff. So this thing became a little bit of a display area as well for the family to show off their private treasures, So yeah, decorating wise, I went for some very classical furniture. I'm really glad to have a good selection in The Sims 4. But of course, I'm gonna say that we don't have enough. And I couldn't have enough of them, so I'm excited to have more classical style furniture in the future, just because it's gonna bring out a lot more in my builds if we have more of them. And to fill in the spaces, I placed in these palm trees, and I do that quite often as well, placing those palm trees in the corners usually. Also, each room has its kind of flower arrangement that kind of matches with the color of the wallpaper or complements the color of the furniture and things like that. So all the flower arrangements in each room are all the same, but they're slightly different in each room, really depends on the color. Right now we are working on one of the multiple vestibules or foyers or reception area, whatever you want to call it. This is not the final output. This is not the final thing. And I should tell you guys that I do show every time I would change my mind, I would not edit it out. Just to show you guys how much I changed my mind, I decided to keep everything. Like literally, I wouldn't edit anything out anyway, but you guys can see definitely here how much I changed my mind. And I really didn't like how this foyer turned out. So I will actually change that later on into a much darker color so that it will match the rest of the house. Because right now it kind of felt like a bathroom to me, to be honest. It's probably because of those tile flooring. So I don't know. I just didn't like how it looked. So yeah. And then I am just plopping in a nice little ottoman here so that you can have some seating variety. I did look at the seating layout and it is stiff like this. It's very stiff, you know, like there's no other word to describe it. Also, the fireplaces, all of them have the same arrangement of clutter on top of them. There's a flower in the middle and then two vases or two pieces of china vases or vases on each side of the flower. You guys will see that all of the fireplaces have the same kind of clutter decoration to them. So yeah, and right now we're working on the dining room. Actually, it has a giant rug in the middle. Originally, I had those columns on each corner of the rug, but I felt like they weren't necessary, so I just went ahead and went without them. And I actually did something that I used to do a lot in The Sims 2, but I wasn't able to do in The Sims 3 or in The Sims 4, so I'm doing it here for the first time. I am extending the dining table. Yay! So you guys know that great homes usually have these really, really long dining tables. And I'm so glad that we can finally recreate that because we have these tables with tablecloths that came with Dine Out. And I think these types of tables are the perfect ones to kind of, you know, do that because you couldn't see the legs of them, and usually the legs are the giveaway that they're just two tables put together, but right now you could not tell that they're two tables put together, right? Also, I did this for the first time in this build as well, is where I kind of put together two candelabras and made them look like just one candelabra. I felt like that was a really nice kind of detail as well. It made it look very formal and very Victorian. So yeah, I will also throw in some, let's see here. Yeah, I'll also throw in some other things there as well, like some fruits and stuff and other flower displays. So yeah, to make it look full and ready for a banquet. But I don't know who eats only fruit at a banquet though, so whatever. And also, I know that you guys are so peeved by this, but sorry, there's a lot of symmetry going on. You know what? Okay, I'm not gonna apologize for it because symmetry is appropriate for this type of build and also appropriate for these types of rooms, which are very formal. So yeah, actually one of you guys told me that in my previous video. So if you're still here, let me know who you are. You know what? I can just check the comments anyway, so whatever. Also, there's 1,000,001 chairs all over the place. In every corner, there's probably like a chair. Here's the thing. There's a bunch of reasons why I like putting chairs all over the place in every corner, but there's mainly a couple of reasons for it. The first one is that's just how it looks. You know, usually when you look at Victorian architecture, they just have 1,000,001 chairs. So that's that. And then the second reason is that they are a great way to bring life to an empty space, you know? Because in The Sims 4, every time the Sims would chat together or whatever, they will prefer to use the chair. And for me, it's great to have chairs for the Sims to just sit on and, you know, chat with people because I think that's a great way to bring out, you know, just the personality in the home, especially if you have really, really large spaces like these ones. I think having chairs in the corner keeps it alive and keeps the space usable, you know? Yeah. So anyway, once again, the layout for this room is really, really stiff. I wanted to use some ottomans here in the middle initially, but I decided against it. This room is the gray drawing room. It's mostly white. I don't know why it's gray. It does have some gray accents to it, like the gray on the fireplace and on the walls and stuff. But yeah, once again, the formalness of the layout of it is because that it is a formal reception room. So yeah, and it looks like this video is coming to an end, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up right here, okay guys? Please don't forget to hit the like, favorite, and subscribe button if you guys want to support the channel because it really helps out a lot, okay? You all have an awesome, awesome, awesome day, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye!